welcome on into Tomes. Today we are discussing episode 4 of the Rings of Power. As it is usually, we are your hosts. I am Jason. This is Cody.
Hello.
And Cody just finished watching episode 4. So I'm going to ask you, what are your thoughts since it's the most fresh in your mind?
I think this episode had actually some of my favorite things in it. I
Mhm.
feel like the show just keeps improving to me. I thought that we'll get into all the things later, but as a whole, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really well done with the dwarves, really well done with Arondir, with the Numenor. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, like I say, again, it's not like I hate the show. It's just this episode, there's just so many inconsistencies, and it's slowly driving me nuts.
Yeah, I am
And
looking
yeah.
past that and just looking at the show itself.
And I'll get to for me, the super inconsistent. I'm like, wait, why? Here in a
Yes.
little bit,
There are a lot
but
of those. There definitely are, and there's a lot of things that just didn't make sense. But yeah, as a whole, though, this episode was my favorite.
okay. So I'm trying to think because again, they did a lot of things that are cool. Again, we'll definitely dive into how I'm just going to say the dwarves, in my opinion, are saving this series.
They are.
Um,
I love the dwarves. That was my favorite part of this entire episode.
oh yeah, no, same here because they just have done so many things right with them.
Yep, they have.
So
Minus the beard.
yeah, so
Just
actually,
not the beard.
and honestly, that's the only thing they've done well.
Yeah.
But just before we start, I made one. Okay, so I was watching some of the critiques from last episode, like how some of the people's point of views are, and one thing didn't register to me until you go very broad in the explanation.
What?
I'm just gonna say, white. Sorry, they have orcs in white sheets with a black elf prisoner. Yeah. I, 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 you know what? I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm just going to leave it at that. I am sure that was by design because it is
Yeah,
too blatantly obvious.
that's fair. I didn't even think about that.
The thing is just because for me, I'm just like, wait, what the heck are you talking about? They're orcs. And the guy's like, yeah, orcs wearing white sheets imprisoning a black elf. I'm like, oh my gosh, that is so wrong.
Oh man. Now I can't look at it any other way. See, this is what my take was on the orcs this time. Was I was actually disappointed because they can't make them evil. They just have to be misunderstood.
Yeah, no, and now I'm just like, they're now pure evil just for that.
Now they're back to evil.
But
Which is fine, but it's just not the way I expected it.
because again, I was trying to describe, I was talking to Stephanie, because actually Stephanie is watching House of the Dragon, and she is absolutely loving it. And from everything I've heard, House of the Dragon, when compared to Rings of Power, House of the Dragon is stealing the show. They are just absolutely killing it.
That's what I've heard too. I've heard that it's as good, if not better, than the actual series of Game of Thrones.
And I believe it's because George R. R. Martin is actually more involved with House of the Dragon than he was with Game of Thrones.
Fair enough.
And this is where I think, again, we were talking about this earlier with the Percy Jackson trailer before we started this, is just like when the author is actually more involved, the show, you can see that the show is going to improve because they know how the world works. They know what will work and what will not work. And that's one thing Rings of Power is just not going to be able to do because, sorry, Tolkien's been dead for for years.
Exactly.
And even his son has passed away who wrote the Silmarillion in his stead.
Yeah.
Or I shouldn't say wrote, he more compiled it and then organized it. But
Yeah.
But still, they don't really have someone to intercede and have those influences. Actually, the fact that they freaking fired their Tolkien scholar, you were kind of seeing the effects when comparing the two shows.
Yep.
So, with that, we're going to dive on in. So, what segments do you want to do? How do you want to do this?
I'm. I figure you have a lot more notes than I do this time, so I'll let you lead. But I know that we have the intro. That you're excited about with the Numenor, with the Queen and the Vision.
Okay.
Was that the
So,
intro that you're talking about?
a little bit. The Queen and her vision, that's I really don't have notes on that.
Okay.
For me, what it is actually after the vision, after the intro, when we are going into Numenor, uh, that uh, they really have not built up the politics in order for us to understand the civil unrest
Gotcha.
because there just really hasn't been much of a build up because the scene where seriously I wrote like half a page, like wrote it, and then when I typed it, it's like just a small paragraph.
Hmm.
Is that it's with the chancellor in the market. That entire scene just made 0 sense. Like, just everything written made 0 sense. Because here comes I'm gonna say guessing, I believe he
Ah,
says it is his son. He comes in and says, "Chancellor, Chancellor," and then he goes over, he's like, "Keep your voice down." Then proceeds to shake hands with every single merchant and knows them by name.
yeah,
Like, that made 0 sense, like, onto why that went to there. And then even with, his son Keeman's snide comments, like, I didn't realize you were in the middle of something important." He says it so monotone, which leads to this pseudo clever line, just like, I'd rather have my son be wise than clever."
yeah,
Like, I'm just like, okay, I'm pretty sure on paper that's would have sounded good, but we do not have enough buildup. We do not have the right situation for that line. It sounds like just a random man talking about whatever comes to his mind. It just made 0 sense to me. Like, just that entire scene. Then leading into the next scene where it is I'm saying hardcore racism, where honestly, it's like, I'm going to say some people getting on a soapbox talking about immigration.
yeah,
Just like freaking Queen's an elf lover, like it's just all that stuff. Like we go to like this racism, and then the chancellor comes up and then begins to explain and try to rally the people. Which actually, like some of the stuff he's saying is cool when you finally look it up, but for someone who is a casual fan, some of the stuff is going to fall on deaf ears.
hmm,
Like this is why I had to go get my the dictionary is because one of the cool things he does talk about is like we are the sons and daughters of the Edain,
yeah,
and the Edain are the secondborn. So in the lore, the firstborn are the elves, the Edain are the secondborn.
okay,
So it's very much like the Edain and the elves, they're still kin. And there were three main houses of the Edain, which they don't even talk about and cover, considering one of them is badass that I just know, but
yeah,
which is the house of Beor, which turns into the house of Hurin. Reason why the house of Hurin is awesome is because let me find it here. Because yeah, many heroes among the Edain. Let's see here. Yeah, the three houses of Baer, which is later named the House of Hurin, was the first to meet the Noldorian elves of all men. They were most like the Noldor, who loved them greatly. Their hair was dark and their bright eyes were gray. They were eager minded, swift to learn, and great in strength. Those of the second house were named of Haldane. And the people of Haleth, they were a forest dwelling people. Okay, yeah, that's just more kind of what's going on. But Hurin and his Hurin's son is known for slaying the great dragon.
oh,
We're talking this is
the
Smog's
massive,
boss.
massive one,
Oh yeah, that's what I was trying to find here.
the one that stepped on mountains like they were ant hills.
Yeah. which actually I do have the book called The Children of Hurin.
Mhm.
But dude, like I understand like they were trying to explain this, have it be like very much more badass, and then him talking like how Eloris was their head. Eloris is Elrond's brother.
Okay.
And actually, I discovered this, I think, a couple weeks ago. But both Elrond and Loris are half elves.
Yeah, and they chose the elven side because half elves in this are different. In Lord of the Rings is different than others, where
Oh
they're
yeah,
not half human, half elf. They get to choose to be
hmm
elf or human.
human. And they're making it sound like Eloris chose to be half human, when in reality he was half elf. Like he went to the elf side,
Yeah.
because that was like one of the things that helped unite. Actually, what originally helped unite Numenor.
Hmm.
So, and then the other note I have is just like after this great speech, he's just like, drinks for everybody. They're in the town square, and then all of a sudden, wine is coming out. They have wine at the ready in the town square.
Yeah, that was a little.
Like, I'm just like, that is so weird. Like this would make sense if it was in a bar, if it was in a tavern. But
Yeah.
no, it's in the middle of the streets. And they just have servants coming out with wine. Like, I'm just like, what the heck?
No, I
Like,
agree. I thought that was really weird.
Like, just that entire beginning part is so weird.
Yeah.
Like, it just like it makes zero sense on how to do this, and not to mention that Keeman is like super sketch, in my opinion.
Yeah, he is. So my thoughts with his speech and everything, well, I no, I didn't know who those people were. I didn't need to.
Mm-hmm.
Because he says, we are the children of this who stood and like fought off Morgoth. Like that's who these people are, and so that's what he was trying to, like with his speech and everything. That's how he was articulating that. If we're the children of the one, like the heroes who helped vanquish Morgoth, are we gonna let like we're strong? Are we gonna let one elf change who we are? We're gonna let one elf like ruin everything. It's not. She's not gonna destroy everything, and that's what he's saying.
Yeah, and actually, I did find the passage. Here in the steadfast was the mighty warrior who slew 70 trolls in battle, as in told in the Narin in Hin Hurin. Hurin's son was Turin Tarambar, who wore the heirloom of his people, the dwarf wrought dragon helm of Dorloman, and carried the black sword called Gurthang. With these weapons and strength and stealth, Turin slew Galarung, the father of dragons. Like, that's dope.
That is dope. But is he even related to these
Yeah.
people?
I'm not 100% sure, but he's an Edain. Like, that's the main thing they
Okay.
were trying to say is there were three main houses of Edain, and Hurin is one of the houses. Like that
Okay.
was one of the cool things. So that's why I was just like he was trying to use some of that as a rallying point. Is
Gotcha.
yes, he was saying yes, we fought Morgoth. We're the sons of the Edain, and all the heroes are part of that, and that would include Hurin the Steadfast and his son.
Hmm.
So that's where I'm just like, okay, that now that I've looked it up, I have a little bit more of a better appreciation for that speech. And this is where for me, I just like this is where Rings of Power is missing both camps, as I think we've even said in the last episode. Is it's missing those that are not Tolkien scholars and those that are.
Yes. Because it's throwing in things that only Tolkien scholars would know,
Hmm.
but then they take away a lot of the things that Tolkien scholars expected.
Yeah. But so far, that's what I have for the opening part of Numenor. We can now, if you want to, just go over and cover Irindir and all that stuff that's going on.
I'm Before we get to that. Oh, actually, no. Yeah, later on I'll talk about the actual intro to the show because now we have a tie into it. So yeah,
Hmm.
so Arondir. I'm Let's see here. I really enjoyed Arondir's segment of it all, but I
Mm-hmm.
didn't understand a lot. In this, mainly in the sense of when he's talking to the father of
The
them.
the Adar,
Yeah,
Adar.
Adar, the Lord Father, they call him.
Yeah, yeah.
Why did they let him go? That
They're
was
trying.
plot armor. It
I
felt
was
like.
like, one respect, yeah. I feel like his plot armor is he was supposed to like carry a message to the people,
Yeah, which
and
the
in
message didn't make sense.
the
Leave and swear fealty, or stay and die.
which yeah, that makes zero sense. And the fact that sorry, you don't really seek godhood. Like everything that I know with Lord of the Rings lore, one can't attain godhood.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
even Sauron, he's not a god in any respect. Well, kind of. He's more again, he's a fallen angel esque.
yes.
But still, that's like he's had that blood, he's had that line. Don't get me wrong, elves are basically demigods in every respect since they don't die unless killed.
Yeah. So this ties into something that Elrond brings up later.
Hmm.
I'm, and this is just in my mind is connecting and just checking to see if we're same page. He says his father was taken and he now like leads this Morning Star or something like that.
Uh,
Is essentially it sounds like he became a god. That the Valor turned him into a god.
I believe so. Like that. It's not even. I would say like a god. It's more on like going a little bit more into our going into Christianity here. It's like they got translated. They got ascended. They were more than welcomed back into the halls of the Valar. It would be like a warrior in Norse mythology going to the like
Valhalla?
yeah, Valhalla, but being able to go to the head table. Like they are more welcomed by the gods. So it's more like got the Valar's good graces. And with it, there is going to be some blessings and going to be some jobs as well. So that's why when Elrond's just saying that my father now carries the Everlight, that's more kind of what it's going on is just like he was such a good man that they gave him honors. They honored him and welcomed in as if they were as if he was one of their own.
Okay.
I'll say, but I will double check on Elrond's history.
Yeah, and that was the only point. I didn't know if that was something that was actually in Tolkien lore or if that's something that they added in to supplement to the he wants to become a god. Here's someone else who became one. Essentially, is how they make it. Excuse me, how they make it sound.
Okay, Irindil. That is the name of his father.
Yes.
Irindil. Irindil. Oh, okay. Irindil, half elven dragon slayer. Erendil the Mariner was the son of the Edain lord Tur and the elven lady Idil of the Gondolin.
Hmm.
Erendil was born in the year 504 of the First Age, Gondolin, but grew up in the elven haven of Avernine. I'm going to butcher most of these names.
You're good.
He became the lord of it and married Elwing, the elven daughter of King Dior and the inheritor of the Silmaril. They
Hmm.
had two sons, Elrond and Elros, for Erendil, whose name means sea lover. Círdan built a miraculous ship called the Vingilot. While he was at sea, Avenir was attacked and Elwing was forced to flee. Seeing no means to escape, she threw herself and the Silmaril into the sea. Ulmo and the Ocean Lord saved her by transforming her into a seabird and allowing her to fly to Erendil. The couple used the power and light of the Silmaril to find their way to the Undying Lands to ask for aid of the Valar. In response, the Valar and the Maiar host, along with the elves of Eldamar came out of the Undying Lands in the War of Wrath. It ended the great battle in which Erendil and Mariner also fought, with the Silmaril bound to his bow. And his magical ship given the power of flight, Erendil slew Akalagon, the black, the great, the greatest dragon of the world has ever known. After the end of the First Age, Erendil led the surviving Edain to the new island kingdom of Numenor. Even after Erendil was destined to sail Vigelat through the firmament, called the Evening Star, and the Flame of the West, the Silmaril was his brow shone down from the night sky forever after. So it's very much, actually, I'm going to attribute it to like the Greek mythology, where the heroes got put in the stars.
Okay.
So that is more what it sounds like. Is that Elrond's dad, because of all the work, all the effort, because actually I believe he's the one that killed the super big dragon that would destroy mountains, whereas Huron killed the father. Huron's son killed the father. But because of that, because of all of his deeds, of everything he did, they welcomed him onto the star with his flying boat.
Okay.
So that's what it sounds like. But
Yeah.
nah, so it's not like someone can attain godhood. It's more like they can attain the good graces of the deities,
Yeah.
of the Valar.
Makes
And
sense. Okay.
then so
So go back to Arondir and his whole thing.
yeah,
There's that scene with the dying orc, and then the Lord Father comes in,
and Mercy
and
kills him.
Mercy kills him, and then they like religiously and gently carry the body away.
Mm-hmm.
That whole scene completely just threw off. Sorry, one second. Okay, he completely threw off everything that orcs have done in all the other stories and all the other books, movies, everything.
Oh yeah, like sorry, looks like meat's back on the menu, boys. They freaking
Exactly.
eat each other.
Maybe it's the specific sect that this is how they are because of Adar.
Like Adar's trying to instill in them more humanity or something.
Yeah, but I don't know. It just
Like it's just feeling off. Like if anything, that's for me what I'm taking away from this episode is everything just feels off.
yes, it does. I that was the part that bothers me the most of this episode, though. To be honest.
Okay. Then let's kind of stay in the vein. Let's
Yep.
just like finish all of like
Arondir's side. Okay,
Arondir's
so
side.
to summarize it, he then gets released by him to send the message to the people in the tower, and don't see him again until he saves the boy.
Which Theo's a little brat. Like he should have died like 3 times over. And in every respect, I think he might become like an orc or like one of the first goblins.
He could be, or they're setting him up to become one of the 9.
Just because my only reason why I'm like he might be an orc is because of the phrase when he's insulting his friend Rowan, he uses the term soft belly. I've only heard orcs use that
Oh,
as an
that's fair.
insult. So that's why I'm like, wait, he might be becoming an orc or like become one of the first goblins or something along those lines because of that soft belly line.
Yeah. Oh, I could see that. I know that it's hinting that he's gonna be a servant of Sauron, and that
Oh yeah.
with the blade and everything, and then the guy who talks to him.
Hmm.
And looking more into the lore of orcs, they are both elves and men who are brought to this point and
Yeah,
turned into it. So he definitely could become an orc.
definitely. And actually, I gotta say, out of everybody in that village, Rowan's smart, his friend.
Yeah, just dipped out.
He ran for it. He's just like, "Are you kidding me? I'm running. It's
Yup.
getting dark. I'm not going to risk my life. Theo's freaking stupid. I didn't
Yup.
even want to be out here. I don't know why he wrote me into it." And he just runs. I'm like, that's a smart man right there. That is a smart man.
It really is.
And I know we're like, oh no, he's a coward for running. I'm like, Theo's a dumbass.
It's not a coward to get out of a situation that you have no chance of surviving.
Exactly. He's pushing a cart full of supplies. Get that back first.
Yep.
So that's not like the dude's smart and actually is going to save more.
Yeah. No, I definitely think that he was the.
So I'm laughing at my next note.
Yeah.
uh, the orc captain.
Wrath or whatever.
Yeah, I called him Orc Batman.
Or Batman.
Just
Why?
because he kept on like playing with the kilt, like he brings it up, it's like, haha, I'm Batman. Like he brings his sword up and he brings the cape up, like, haha, I'm Batman.
I'm going back to that. I have it playing in the background as I'm talking about it, and so I'm watching that part.
Like you just see him bring this like light cape up and is just like, I'm Batman.
Okay. Almost there. Come on. Okay, he's about to get grabbed. 3, 2, 1. Grabbed. Okay. And I don't see the cape.
It's actually when they are in the tavern. It's
Oh,
the
okay.
tavern, like when the captain first sees him and they're fighting.
Gotcha. I thought you meant right before he gets killed.
No, no, no. Right before he gets killed. No, 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 no. Uh, I just
I'm
have
back to it
one note.
now.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's just like when Theo runs out the door, you see him whip up the cape and bring the sword
Yeah.
up, and just like, I'm Batman.
That's funny.
Which again, I know why he's doing that. It's like, sunlight protects skin, but for I'm just like, I'm Batman.
Oh, I see.
See, like,
I'm Batman.
I'm Orc Man. Like it is just so funny.
It
Like every
really
single
is.
time I saw him after that, I was like, I'm Batman.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Just trying to think here.
Okay.
And then after, yeah, again, Theo should have died at least 3 times in that escape.
Yep.
And then, honestly, this show needs to cut it out with the slow mo.
It does. It does way too
Like,
much slow-mo.
it's just like they did that entire escape scene with Arondir in slow mo.
Yeah.
It should be in like little chunks. Like honestly, it's like if an arrow got close, okay, slow mo that. Not the entire escape. Like it's just like they need to chill with it. Like it's not helping. It's hurting them at this point.
Yeah. There.
It's
Yeah.
it's
I
just
agree.
so random and it's random and they do it for too long.
Yeah.
Like even looking at the Fellowship of the Ring, slow mo is supposed to use to help accentuate emotion. It's used to help you feel. Like when Gandalf falls off into the pit after the
Yeah.
yeah,
Balrog.
Balrog. Sorry, I was gonna say Minas Morgulth, which is technically the name of it. But anyway, after he falls into that pit and it does that slow mo of Frodo screaming and no,
Yeah.
that is chilling. Like it is gut wrenching. You feel it, but they only do it when they are getting out of the Mines of Moria. Once they leave Mines of Moria, it resumes back to normal fast motion.
Yeah. Yeah. They definitely overuse the slow-mo and they use it in awkward places. Um. That whole scene. you- I want to like it. To be honest, I really want to like it, but the slow mo and the music kind of bothered me.
the slow-mo and the music really bothered me until the very end. At the very end of that entire chase scene when the music is there, that's when I was like, "Okay, I feel it now." Like, I feel the music right now.
Yeah.
At the very end when it then switches over to the dwarves,
Yes.
where it's like they're holding a funeral service. But I just feel like the slow-mo and the music up to that point did not make any sense. What needed to happen for it to make sense, maybe Theo got shot, like, actually got shot and might be dying, or his mother. Honestly, if
Yeah.
you're gonna go for the Phil route, his mother got shot and is now laying in the field.
Yeah. It was false drama. Like, it was all just set up that there was gonna be something, but then there wasn't. It was all just like, oh, we might do something, we might do something. No, we're not gonna do anything.
Exactly. It just again, it just all feels off. Like this entire episode just it feels off. It's just they have a lot of good stuff, but they just do not execute it properly. Like it's just a failure of execution.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And then Arondir gets to the tower, gives them the message, which honestly you could have wrote that on paper and sent it. Eh,
Yeah.
which is very much like they're using it as plot armor. It very much is.
Yeah, I feel like there was better way. I don't know. For
Like
from the side of the orcs and the Lord Father and all that, I just feel like it didn't make sense to send him and then give him all his weapons and armor back. Just what was the point of it?
it made no sense. Like honestly, what would have been better is instead of like, oh, send him a message. Would have been better is if he was just like eavesdropping in on the meeting. He was listening in on a meeting that he was having with the orcs.
Hmm.
He was listening to it and just like, and then their orcs were going to send the messages to just like tell them to leave and swear fealty or stay. Actually, honestly, just like you could stay and swear fealty or you can leave.
Yeah, but then
Like,
it takes away again that I. It's just that whole thing that it just doesn't make sense.
it does not make sense.
Even if that was the thing, because orcs don't. Do you remember when
Orcs
the
are
orcs
brutal.
released? Do you remember the orcs released the prisoners against Minas Tirith?
Yeah, frick. Yeah, they were catapulting heads. Like this is a group saying, "Oh yeah, we'll let the Humies leave." No, this is like, "Heh, we're going to come after them either way. They have 5 days until we get there."
Yeah,
Like that's more of the threat is like leave within like 2 days or we'll be there. But I guess with Adar, he's supposed to be like helping humanize the orcs where it's just like, okay, fine, we'll give him a couple days. But even still, I'd rather have freaking Arondir listen in, and then as soon as Ardar gets close enough, he uses that weapon, knocks him out, releases himself, and then runs back with that message of just like, they're going to be here in 5 days. We either need to stand and fight or we need to leave now.
yeah,
Like, that would have been better. And that would have justified more of an escape scene. Whereas it now seems like Arondir might be a double agent.
yeah,
Like it comes off with that. So
yeah. It comes off that he's now working
for
uh,
Adar, which
yeah,
he's not, but it does not give the correct vibe. Like does not give the correct meaning or message.
no, it doesn't.
But so that finishes Arondir. We can now move over to the dwarves if you want.
Sure.
Because they did a lot of good things. Like, oh, they did good.
Yep. Okay, so with the dwarves and everything, I'm gonna start by the intro of the actual show. And it's something we haven't talked about yet.
Yes.
How they have the vibrating sands to go into the different symbols, the rings, and all those other things.
Okay.
I don't know if you've actually watched the intro.
I've skipped it.
So if you can pull it up on your laptop or anything like that right now, it's short. but it
Uh,
reminds me very much so of Brandon Sanderson with Stormlight. I'm if you remember how the Ardent that ends up trying to kill Shalon and
oh, yeah, 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 with the vibrating sands, how it creates the, like, scenery?
he creates the
The
layout of
map.
the cities
Yeah.
because they're done in a certain way. It's using that same exact thing, but they use that vibrations to change it to the symbols of the different rings, the tree, like the white tree and all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
That's what the intro to the show is.
Yeah.
Well, we now see where that all comes from with the dwarves
Yes.
when she sings and you see the sand start to do that.
Yes, and that is actually the one thing I'm like, they did this good, is because the entire magic system that Tolkien created was based on language and music.
Hmm.
So that is where that is done phenomenally.
Yeah, I loved it. But I
Uh,
guess back to the start of the
of it
dwarven
with
side of
let's
things.
start with actually Elrond and Celebrimbor.
Okay.
I very much feel what they're trying to do with Celebrimbor and Elrond is give us a relationship similar to Frodo and Bilbo.
Oh, I can see that.
Because again, Frodo was Bilbo's like, it was his
His
nephew.
nephew. Yeah.
Nephew, like 2 cousins over, but it and it's very much same with Celebrimbor, is like, "I knew your father," and so it feels like very much like, he's trying to take over a fatherly-esque role when
Yes.
I'm sorry, Elrond is already mostly a grown man,
Yeah.
but that is one thing I kinda noticed, so keeping that in mind, I'm like, "Okay, this relationship is a little bit more interesting," kind of seeing that. And
Yeah.
then I just really loved how they show Elrond as the politician, and he balances friendship with it as well.
Yeah.
Because this is a man who, again, he's just like Celebrimbor was like, "I feel like Durin's avoiding me." And he's just like, can you see why he's doing that?" And Elrond was like, "Yeah, sure, I'll check in on my friend." It's
Yeah.
like, don't get me wrong, it's part of an assignment now, but it's like, you know what? Yeah, no, you're right. He's kind of avoiding us. I wonder what's going on. And is he hiding something? What's going on? So then he goes to Diza, and then Diza kind of lying to him. But the
Yeah.
thing I absolutely loved is they showed the elf eyes and elf ears effect.
What do you mean?
So after that, Diza is talking to Durin how she's like, "Yeah, I lied to Elrond. I don't think he suspects us," and has the entire conversation. And then he goes to Elrond, who is listening
Oh, got that.
a
Yes.
ways away, and we kind of see how it zooms in and then goes out.
Yes.
Like, I loved how they did that. I'm just like, that. Why can we have done that sooner?
Yes. I agree 100% with that. I love that part of it.
hmm So those are my talking points on those kind of things. So what did you like with the rest of the dwarves?
I'm There was a lot. It was just all of it just felt real. It felt it this is the one part of the show that doesn't feel forced.
Yes, it feels so natural.
It does. Their friendship, even hiding the mithril. Dwarves, of course, would hide that.
Oh, absolutely.
Um, I loved how just they end up talking about and going through. I And then finally, like they're basically like, "Well, I know you're lying to me. I know you're hiding something from me." And so he goes, "Okay, but you have to swear an oath that you won't tell anybody about it." And then he shows them, and it's amazing. And there's like, "This is so cool. This is like an amazing thing to happen." And then how the cave in happens, um, and I loved how Deez was like, if you hadn't been there, if you hadn't like, essentially, if I had just told you the truth, then he would have. There's a chance that he could have been in there, essentially,
Yeah.
and
And mhm.
just the whole thing and everything just felt real. Everything is like these are thoughts people would actually have. These are things people would actually go through, and
Yeah.
these
It's a lot more
feel
authentic.
yes, these feel like real characters. I'm
And
and go ahead.
and for me, I love how they have Elrond right now. I
Yes.
love because in every respect, I'm just gonna say he's the heart and soul series. I'm gonna say he's basically Tolkien inserted into the world. And I absolutely love it because even if you look at Lord of the Rings, as I'm looking at all the stuff he's doing with the dwarves, it makes more sense now. Why in The Hobbit he's like, "Yes, I welcome in the dwarves," because he views them as his friends. And he continues to do that, and he continues to be kind of more of a political ally to the dwarves. And I just absolutely love it. And seeing where that originated from, that is why I'm like, this is why the dwarves and Elrond are carrying the series for me. It's
Yeah.
because Elrond swore the oath, swore all this. If they make him betray Durin, go back on his oath, that undermines the entire series if they try to do that.
Yeah.
So that was my main hope they do. If they keep Elrond the way he is currently, he is going to be the one of the best parts of this entire series is because the character himself, this shows it. This shows how loving, how kind, how smart he really is.
Yeah.
Because he's not just this pushover politician. Like Deeza told him all this information, whereas honestly, it's just like a politician would go, "Okay, I'll take your word for it," and then leaves.
Yeah.
He's just like, "There's something a little sketch going on. I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna see here. I'm gonna listen in, see what they got." And then he's
Yeah.
just like, "Okay, now that I know, your secret is now safe with me. I now know how to protect you guys even more."
Yeah.
Like that's the vibe I get.
Definitely agree with that. Um, and then one of the things I loved with the dwarves is at the very end when he's talking to his father. I'm and essentially what it comes down to is everything gets flipped. Where Elrond's like, they're hiding something from me, and he has to find out what it is. Well,
Mhm.
they're about to flip everything, and Durin's about to go to back with Elrond, and then he's going to be finding out there's something off here because they already said it. Him and his father said there's something off. Let's go find out what it is.
And if anything, what I can see it doing is this creates an alliance between just Durin and Elrond, whereas Durin and Elrond versus their, the I'm gonna say their races.
Yeah.
Like I could see that happening, whereas that could be just like a minor term of conflict. Whereas like Numenor's politics climate, we have no idea about.
Hmm.
But the dwarves and the elves' political climate, I feel like we know so much more because it is just done so much better, especially with the dwarves.
Definitely.
And it's just again, I love the dwarves, and I love at the very end, actually, after Elrond tells the story about his dad, after he says all that. I love how Deez is like, "Okay, quick question. I need confirmation on this story of how you two met."
I know that was so
I
funny.
That is very much like, "Yep, yep, those are two friends. Those are two
Yep.
friends."
It's two trolls and he saved you. Actually, it
It
was
was
three,
three
and I
trolls, and
saved
I
him.
saved him.
I saw him there, and I had my bow. It was a sword. Whatever.
Like, I was just like, and then actually what I loved with it is like when Durin actually comes in, he's angry, and it's one of those things we actually see Durin's greed
Yeah.
because I believe that's what that's what the stone is in The Hobbit. I'm trying to remember the name of it, but it got nicknamed Durin's Bane.
Hmm.
And you can see it. Like if he finds the stone, it's going to only enhance his greed,
Yeah.
which I think is what they might be leading up to.
Yep. And that was the thing that they delve. He's the one that delves too greedily and too deep and awakens the Balrog in the first place.
Correct. And that's one thing that I'm like, again, the dwarves, they're doing very well with.
Hmm.
Everything else, they're half-assing.
Pretty much.
uh,
Um.
then,
Okay,
okay,
so Numenor. So it's
All
back to
right.
Numenor. So
Ugh, okay.
here's the thing with their story with everything. I it just feels kind of all over the place.
It is all over the place. It makes zero sense. Although I will say, I love how much of a smartass Elendil is.
Yes.
I loved that one line he said just because it made for me. I was like, it made my day.
Which
Because
which one?
okay, so first off, the scene Galadriel with the Queen Regent showing her the scrolls, showing her all this, and then Muriel goes, "You stole the scrolls." I was like, "What? What? She did still nothing. She quite literally went to the library, asked for them, saw this, is like, oh, you know what? I'm going to bring it to the queen. Maybe she might have another idea. Maybe I can get her involved. So,
Yeah.
with permission from the library, she took the scrolls, showed her, as like, you stole them from me. It's like, no, this is like, for me, I'm just like, this is like Galadriel Muriel pissing contest, and it resumes.
It does. Although it does finally conclude in this one.
It does conclude, but and I just think it's funny. And she's just like, and of course, like the pissing contest, just like, oh yeah, you did this, oh you did that, you brought this person to my shore who basically bashed in three people's skulls. He's like, well, actually, yeah, no, it turns out he's actually a Southern Lord. He's like, oh yeah, next thing you're gonna tell me is that Elendil is a rune lord. He's like, actually, uh, I am
I'm just
a petty lord.
Yep, that's right. I just went back to that part.
I just like he's like, I'm actually a petty lord, and you just hear her go, you shut your mouth. And I'm just like, I love Elendil. He's like, that's my boy.
I, I love it so much. I just watched that part 3 times, so I'm not gonna lie.
Like it's I was like, that is the best part of that entire scene, and oh my gosh. Oh, the cringe line of just Galadriel, there's a tempest in me. I'm just
I
like,
know.
that is just so bad.
It's just bad writing,
It's just horrible writing. And then I was like, finally, Muriel did something right. She locked up Galadriel,
which was amazing.
which I'm like, finally, yes.
And this was one of the times that I enjoyed Haldir, right?
Yeah.
Is it Haldir? Halbrand.
Hellbrand, yeah.
I am where he's just like, yeah, you did something stupid, didn't you? What'd you do?
She's like, actually, no, I was like, what are you in for? Tavern brawl? She's like, sedition.
Yeah, that was funny. That prison scene. Honestly, was really well done.
It was
I
well done. Like, it
even
was funny. It was
between
good.
that was the prime of Galadriel's acting in there.
Exactly. And I was just like, but real quick, going to cover this just real quick, just because in my mind it's so small. But a seal door, oh my gosh. Like, just all of it feels random. Like, honestly, the series would be better with him out. Like, it's not adding anything to the series. He really isn't.
He's
The
not.
and then the randoms again, the show needs a cut with the slow-mo, and then with him daydreaming and hearing the voice, it finally I was like, wait, is that supposed to be his mother?
I
Is
don't
that who
know.
he's hearing?
Maybe.
Because that for me, that's the only conclusion I have. Because he's hearing a random woman's voice. It's like, okay, it's not Galadriel. I know that for a fact. And then after they all get kicked out of the freaking ship,
Hmm.
he's just like, yeah, you and your is just like your mother this, your mother that. I'm just like, okay, so is that supposed to be his mother's voice he's hearing, and that's why he's daydreaming? Because so that's the only thing that makes sense. But still, right now, Isildur is a piece of crap.
Yeah, he has. Yeah, it's just another one of those characters that, and this is what I brought up last time with him, where I feel like they're showing him as the weak human, and this is why he's gonna fail later on.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just like, and that's not the thing. It's like he was very strong, very mighty, very diligent. But it was
Yeah,
just that's how powerful the ring is. Like the ring could corrupt Gandalf for crying out loud.
yeah,
And it did corrupt Frodo just slower.
yep.
Like, it turns the best of men, and Isildur is supposed to be the best of men.
Exactly.
And just Isildur, they're screwing the pooch with it. And we'll go back now to the prison scene where I'm just gonna say it is so obviously Sauron. Like how it is so obvious.
Yeah.
Cause the quotes, oh my gosh, where he's basically kind of finally calms Galadriel down enough to think. The entire thing is like, first off, you need to identify what it is that your opponent most fears and give them a means to mastering it so that you can master them.
Yeah.
That is the One Ring. That
Yep.
is the One Ring. Like, that is just obviously.
Yeah.
And then freaking Mary Sue, Karen Galadriel.
I know. Where she's all of a sudden can just take down all the guards and throw them all in prison and lock them away.
In one go, like all three, and they're armed. It's not like all of a sudden they're not all shackled together. Like, and even still, the shackles would be small. They would be handcuffs, not something big enough to grab three men and throw them into a cell. And definitely the Karen of like, I want to speak to your manager,
I know.
like with freaking Muriel going out. It's like, I want to see your father. I want to see the king. Like
Yep.
that's so Karen.
It
Like,
is.
and then just the audacity. She breaks into the palace. After insulting the queen, is angry about the elf racism, and then still has basically the boss to say, "Ha, I'm right."
Yep.
Like, it is just so, like, they are not doing anything to help Galadriel develop a character. They're
No.
making her this Mary Sue that's always perfect, always right, and then she continues to like say the only one that sees, the only one that knows, is her justifying her stupid, selfish actions.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she is not learning.
No, she's not.
There is zero character development, and that is what is killing her as a character. That is what's making everybody in the world hate her.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen so many articles that the Lord of the Rings or the Rings of Power has a Galadriel problem.
Yes,
That
like
everything else works. Even if we don't like everything in it, it still works. Her
if they
character doesn't work.
it doesn't. Like, seriously, if they drop, like, seriously, if Galadriel was not in any of this, the scene, like, everything would be a little bit better.
Yeah. The world would be a better place without her in it.
Exactly. Or again, if they dropped her to a minor character, not a major, a minor
Yeah, like the
character.
role that she actually played.
Yeah, like in the movies.
Oh, I meant in the actual stories.
In the actual story, her and her brothers, they did play a big role, but for her, she was very much, again, she is still
She
strong.
was
She's
a
very
support character.
powerful. She
She
is
was,
strong in
yeah,
how good and supportive she is.
yeah, and she is powerful. And I mean, here's one of the things that I was reminded of on this one is that she can speak to people's minds.
Hmm.
And while I know this is like 3 millennia, 4 millennia before, she would still have that power,
Yeah.
but she doesn't.
She doesn't like, and she has this building, and we even see in the first episode opening scene that she still does have magic.
Yeah,
Like, it's just they have done her a great disservice
they
with
have.
what they've done in Rings of Power. And I think that is what everybody is complaining about, is just the fact that Galadriel has been done such a great disservice. And they've turned her into this Mary Sue Karen.
Yeah,
And then I was gonna say, and I think I have like one last note of just like pure inaccuracy. The Palantir, however that
yeah,
is pronounced, the crystal balls,
yes.
they do not see the future. Not in the least. They are used as communication devices. And all seven would actually be in Numenor.
What point are they lost?
They're lost after the fall of Numenor, because actually this is really cool, because I double checked in, like,
Hmm.
again, we're on Wikipedia, found this, is all seven were in Numenor. And then when the fall of Numenor happened, Elendil and his family took all 7 of the orbs,
Okay.
and then they brought them to Middle Earth. And what they did is they used them as outposts because basically they're like cell towers. They're magical cell towers
Yeah.
where they're able to communicate traffic. They're able to communicate what's going on.
Yes.
And so they're placed throughout Middle Earth, and then they get lost as Sauron is taking more and more land. It's getting lost because they're getting overrun, which is where we get to the Lord of the Rings, is because Sauron literally has one that he's commuting with Saruman.
Yes.
So only time they could be able to glimpse a future would be when Sauron actually has it, because he is using magic to show something. He's
Yeah.
using a magic seer, then using the Palantry to show him what he is seeing and communicating that.
Mhm.
That is what the Palantry are used for. Not like, oh, it's this magical crystal ball that I can now see into the future. Even the Master Orb does not do that.
Yeah. So that was I. I remember that there were. Um. What was I gonna say? I know that Galadriel uses magic to show Frodo the future,
Yes,
and through the whole
through the
um
basin,
the
yeah.
basin with the water and all that.
Mhm.
And then I knew that the orbs were to communicate. I honestly, I just figured that, yeah, that makes sense. That it, and I did, yeah. I had a lot of random thoughts. Sorry, my mind's not all here right now.
Oh no, dude, it's all good. I would say at this point, I think we've covered like everything that's within the show, like at
Yeah,
least segment by segment. So any random thoughts you have, I think now is the perfect time to voice them.
my main one that keeps coming back is about the tree. I am,
Oh, okay, yeah, I did have one other note, but yeah, the tree.
yeah. So the tree, and I really enjoyed this side of it where I am. The tree is really that's the prophecy, and that's what changes everybody's hearts. Where people are like, oh, okay, there is something going on. This isn't just we can't just sit back, and them deciding to go through and fight had nothing to do with Galadriel, nothing at all. They make it sound like it's all about her and all that, but if you actually look at it, she has nothing to do with it.
Yeah, which for me, this is where the change in the Numenorians was too dramatic for me
I agree.
because it is very much again, it feels more like they tossed it away at the end. Like it was at the very end of an episode, and then they use it as a quick wrap up summary.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, instead, what they did with the show was that it showed, or at least with this episode, if they showed more of the Numenorians and their strife with each other, and the fact that there is an elf, fact they kind of show what they're really divide the people on this issue, like really have it divided. Not like a quick speech to quell them saying that men is all.
Hmm.
Instead, really have two sides and them discussing and actually feuding and almost having a civil war.
Yeah.
And then the tree, as they're like, okay, fine, you know what? For the safety of our people, we are going to have Galadriel leave. And seriously, like Galadriel does not speak a single word of this. She is just there, gives it, has the information, gives it to Muriel. That is it. And then they're like, okay, you know what? We're gonna let her leave. We're gonna have her leave. Just end it at that, nothing else. Have her leave, and then have the tree do its thing, and have us more build up into the lore of the tree.
Yeah.
And it could even been like they were showing Galadriel around the palace. Like there really has not been any build up. There has not been any like world lore that has been communicated to us, which I know in at least storytelling, it's show don't tell. But when it's just a tree, that's where you show the tree and explain the significance. You explain it all.
Yeah. I agree. They like always they just don't have the build up for it. And that was what I was gonna say with Isildur as well.
Mhm.
He just doesn't have the build up. They could do so much more with him, but they don't because they don't have the build up. And so it just feels hollow and crappy.
Yeah, they really much spread themselves too thin. They needed to focus on 2 or 3 key points, and that's where the series would have done great. Like, actually, this episode, the only reason I'm saying, like, giving it some of the criticism I have is they did some stuff right, is
Yeah.
because they sat down and delved more into the dwarves. They sat down and delved more into some of those aspects. Whereas, if you notice, we didn't see anything with the Harfoots in this episode.
Yep.
Harfoots were absent, which honestly is like, okay, it was a good thing because by the time they threw that in, what would have been cut?
Yeah.
Like, they have spread themselves so thin that it's impacting the quality of the show.
I agree. I agree 100%. Okay, so I have to talk about this. I am with the Harfoots.
Mhm.
Have you seen the um people who aren't very happy with them?
Yes, I believe. Oh,
Specifically the Irish newspapers?
no, I have not. What's been going on?
So this is what's being brought up about it. I am the hobbits are obviously supposed to be Irish. And the
Okay.
entire point that they've been making with this show is that they want people to see themselves in this. But think about how the Irish are being portrayed. They are dirty. They are like all
Yeah.
these things, all these negative stereotypes, and people are not happy about it.
Oh, yeah.
I
No,
am.
no.
Let me pull up their thing real quick.
Okay, and yeah, send me the article because when I go back in and edit the video for this, I'm gonna have that there.
Yeah. So Irish Times. So yes, from the Irish Times. It's titled "The Rings of Power: The New Hobbits Are Filthy, Hungry Simpletons with Strange Irish Accents." That's $1 billion well spent.
Yeah, it's about the Harfoots that they're not dirty. Like, again, it's a hobbit hole. It's not a dirty, stinky, worm rotting hole. It's a hobbit hole. It's a homie hole.
Yeah.
Which again, if that's supposed to be the Irish. All right, that makes sense. Like, honestly, looking at the Fellowship of the Ring, oh yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Where again, only time I'm like, you know what, that can be stereotypical, but it's fun. Stereotypical is the fact that they drink. You see them singing, dancing, drinking, and having a good time. I'm like, shoot, yeah, that is Irish.
Yep.
That is a wee bit Irish.
Yeah, so here I'll send you the article with everything. I they rip on a lot of stuff, including some things with Tolkien himself, because they said that Tolkien doesn't really care for Irish people too in there. So I'll let you read and enjoy and just see, pull your own thoughts from it all.
Okay.
Um, I'm gonna post it into Discord. There you go.
All right. Okay, sweet. Okay, I got it.
Perfect. Well, I guess then, as you like to say, Austin, we'll shelf it for this time and open another chapter next time.
All right, sounds good.